Right, so obviously now we've got our Pygame initialization section, then we need to go to our Pygame display window initialization. So the thing that normally goes through there is we would go ahead with our game screen, pygame.display.init. No, excuse me, set mode, and we obviously want the screen width and screen size, screen width and screen height. Obviously we haven't created those variables yet, so let's go to our game settings variables section and let's add those variables in. Screen width, we're going to go with 1280, and screen height, we're going to go with 960. Okay. So now we've got our game screen, we've got it set in. It's going to start up with the screen width and screen height of 1280 by 960. Let's go with the next section. We're going to go with pygame.display.setCaption. We're going to call it Asteroids. Asteroids. Right, so that's our game window, game screen, set caption. The next thing we're going to go ahead with is, let's start our main game loop. So here by our main game loop, we're going to go down and we're going to say run game is equal to true, and then while run game is while run game. Alright, so we're going to start off our while loop for our main game loop. Now we're going to quickly create a event handling loop, just so that we'll be able to switch off the game. Check for quit and or escape key presses. Alright, so that's what we're going to put in there. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to go with for event in pygame.event.get if event.type is equal to pygame.quit, or not here. If it's equal to pygame.quit, well then straightforward, run game will then be equal to false. Okay, and once pygame is equal to false, we would then go down to here, because the while loop would then end, and then we would have to then pygame.quit and then sys.exit. Okay, so if I had to run this now, we should get a game screen, a game window that pops up. And we have a game window that pops up, but I have forgotten something. Not Pygame display screen is set up. It's there. No, obviously no background yet because we haven't loaded any backgrounds. Let's just run it one more time. Asteroids is there, but we're showing the little Pygame icon. I'd like to change that. And of course there's no background. There's no screen running in the back. There's no background screen. We just have a blank image. But that's cool. Okay, well, the other thing we wrote as well, event handling loop, check for quit and or escape key presses. Okay, so what we want to do is if we hit the escape button, we want it also to quit. So let's go with if event.type is equal to pygame.key down, and then if event.key is equal to pygame.k_escape. Then if that is the case, then it will be run game is equal to false. Okay, let's just quickly test that out. We've put that in, we've run the Pygame module. And if we hit that button, we already know that it will close. If I hit the escape key, we exit the program. Okay, good job, that's working. Right, what we we said is we wanted to quickly change the background, the icon image. We wanted to go ahead and change the icon image. In order to do that, I'm going to create a utility function for loading images. The reason why I'm going to create a utility function to load images is because we're going to be loading a lot of images later on, and it's just going to save us a lot of time to be able to just call that function instead of having to individually load each and every image that we have. As you can see here, once we get to loading all these images, it's actually quite a few images to load. We definitely do not want to do that manually for each one. Right, so in order to do that, I just need to find the spot. Where did okay. Over here by my game images, the icons, I'm going to create a variable called icon image. Right? That's going to be equal to. Now we want to load in there the image for the rocket ship because I want the rocket ship to be my little icon. So I think in order to do that, let's go to the utility functions and let's create that utility function for loading images. Let's do it now quickly. So it's going to be define game image load. And then I'm going to pass to it the image file path. And I'm also going to pass to it the size that we require. And that will be because of the various asteroid sizes, large, medium, and small. Also because we want to transform the image once we've loaded it. Right. I'm just going to put in a little comment here. Function to load all of the game images and converting the image sizes when necessary. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to image is equal to pygame dot image dot pygame dot image dot load, and it will be the image file path. Right. The next thing we're going to do is we're then going to transform that image, pygame dot image dot pygame dot transform dot scale, and that would be on the image itself, and then we're going to go with the size that we want to transform it with. Now it's going to be, the size is actually a listing or a tuple. If we put it through, once we feed it through, because we want to, obviously we want a size being X and Y. Okay, then we're going to return that image. Alright, so now we've got our utility function created, game image load. Go down here to my icon image. I'm going to call that function. I'm going to call it on my image file path, which will be my rocket ship here, which is in my assets folder. So I'll enter the string assets rocket ship .png. Right, and then the size is going to be, the size of the Pygame icon images is 20 by 20. So we're going to feed in 20 by 20. Alright. Once we've done that, we will then further transform that image, icon image, will then be equal to pygame.transform rotate the image, and the surface will be icon image, and we're going to transform it minus 90. That will turn the image onto the right hand side. Okay, next thing we need to do is we need to update the Pygame window screen. Pygame.display.set icon, and the surface will be the icon image. Alright, so what we should see now, I'm just going to double check that assets folder, rocket ship, assets folder, rocket ship.png, we should see our icon in the top of the screen. If we take a look right over there, you can see our rocket ship is facing the right hand side, and we've no longer have the little Python Pygame symbol. It's now the icon for our game. Fantastic. Oh, excuse me. Moving on. Right, the next thing we want to do is we want to then load in a background image for our game. Because at the moment, every time we run the program, we just have a blank background screen, and that does not help us at all. So let's go ahead and load in our background image first. So we're going to go under our little section we have created here for loading in image assets. We're going to go ahead and call our image loading function. Okay, so we're going to create our background image is equal to game image load, and we want to load in that space.png. So it's going to be assets space.png, and the size is going to be, we want it to be the size of our screen. So let's just go ahead and call it that. Right, use those two variables straight right up ahead. Screen, oh my word, screen height. Okay, that's our background image, game image load, assets space, screen width. Okay, so that would load our image into the game memory. However, we're still not calling it onto our game, onto our main game loop. We're also not calling our Pygame.display.update function. That's what I was missing earlier. We must never forget to put that in. So I'm going to go back up to the top under my utility functions, and I'm going to create a function specifically for updating my game screen window. I'm going to go ahead and put it here. I'm going to say define game window updating function. Alright, so the first thing we're going to load, the very first image, is going to be my background screen, because everything that gets drawn onto the game gets drawn on top of this. So my background image, I'm going to call it onto my game screen dot blit bgimg, and its coordinates is going to be 0, 0 for the top left corner. Okay. And the other thing I need to do while I'm in this function is I need to go ahead and call my Pygame.display.update. Okay. Right, that's my Pygame.display.update. Let's just update the comments for this function quickly so we don't forget what we're using it for. Handling the game screen updating. Right, so if we scroll down to our main game loop, what I want to do is put it here at the very bottom of our main game loop. I want to go in there, and I just want to go ahead and call game window updating. And if we hit the play button, we should get our background image reflecting. And there we go. We are now in space, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final frontier. Right. So now we've done that. We have a background image. We have our game window on the go. I just want to add one more variable to my game settings while we are busy with it, because it's a very small item, but tend to forget about it later on. So I just want to go ahead and add a clock to our Pygame. Pygame.time.clock. Alright. And then in our actual, just below our game window updating function, I just want to call in that little clock.tick and restrict our game FPS to 60 frames per second. Right, if we hit the play button again, we have not broken our game.